Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, where we help business owners design a life they don't grow to hate without sacrificing their health, relationships, or faith. We do it through clarity, accountability, support, guidance, and real community. Today's guest is proof that purpose can be built from pain. Nicole West is the powerhouse behind Brightside Construction, a woman-owned, family-run general contracting company rooted in faith, resilience, and doing what's right. She's not just building homes in commercial spaces. She's restoring trust and hope in the construction world, one relationship at a time. Nicole West, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, so Nicole, take us back. And I love asking business owners and entrepreneurs this. What inspired you to start Brightside Construction, and how did that journey unfold for you through where you are today?
So Sean, I used to be in construction when I was a teenager, and I always had troubles with unequal pay. There's also, you have people that treat you like you're beneath them because I'm a woman and they think that I'm not as strong as they are. One of the issues I had was I even had a boss tell me that he couldn't hire me before because I would be a distraction to his workers because I was too pretty. And unfortunately, I was like, well, if that's a problem, then you might need to have new workers. So I ended up leaving construction and went into sales for a while, which I did really great at. I love people, but I was just miserable sitting down all the time on the phones. I was like, man, I love people in person. Fast forward, my husband opened his business, Brightside Electric LLC. He's been open for about 6 years now. And man, we've had so many horrific stories of people getting just completely pushed over by other contractors, whether it be by pricing or even botched work that has destroyed their home and they had to take out insurance policies. Well, about 3 years ago, we had, or actually 4 years ago, we had our AC unit go out and we were hot. I mean, it was middle of summer, burning up, and we called an HVAC company. We were in a tight spot because we just opened our business and we were still trying to get it going after COVID. And man, I'll tell you, this guy came out. He was several $1,000s cheaper than all the other contractors. He even on good faith allowed us to pay it out, which we were able to pay it out, God bless, in about a month or two. But it really resonated with me. So last year, me and my husband were sitting down and I was like, man, I really wish that like all of our customers knew the great contractors that we know so they don't have to go through that. So if they're going through a hard time, we can help them with payments, or we can help them get into a position to where they can get what they need. You know, I was like, man, I really wish that this person knew all of these people so they don't get really great electrical service, but really poor plumbing service. And finally, we were just like, well, why don't we do it? We can start a general contracting company and pull all these people together and really create a great community of trustworthy people. So that's what inspired it.
Man, that is a beautiful story. And honestly, my entrepreneur mindset is like, I'm relating to I know our listeners and audience are too. It's like, well, wait a minute. You know, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And obviously, when I met you the first time at the networking event before we started recording the episode today, I told you right away, you can, within seconds, you know if you're going to like that person or not. Yeah. And you were personable, you were smiling, you were positive, you had a great attitude, and you embodied everything that you just said. And for me, when you do business, it's like, who do you trust nowadays to do business with? And what I'm hearing you say is you're connecting all those dots for people, you to be the go-to source in the construction company and the contracting company to be able to plug those people into the different types of industries if they need. And that's a beautiful place to be. I love that.
Thank you.
So as a local Conroe grad here locally in Montgomery County, how has your roots and upbringing shaped your mindset and values as a business owner? So,
funny story, Sean. I actually never graduated. I actually had a very hard home life. I was raised by my grandmother, my great grandmother, my great aunt. Unfortunately, all three of them passed away in a car accident when I was 11. So I experienced heavy loss at a very young age. Unfortunately, my mother and my father were going through heavy addiction at the time. So I was really tossed between family member to family member and ended up getting into drugs at a very young age. With that being said, I ended up dropping out. I ended up having kids very early. And really the Lord grabbed a hold of me. I was in a very dark place. I didn't love myself. I didn't love people around me. And I think it was just because as a child, I grew up craving the kind of love that I really needed and I couldn't find it. So I was just angry. So after the Lord
Yes.
grabbed a hold of me, he really changed my life. I'm 10 years sober now, praise God. And man, I'll tell you what, Sean, I just want
Wow.
to love people the way that I needed to be loved. My mother is now sober. She's doing great. My father, unfortunately, he's still struggling with his
Mm,
addiction, but the Lord loves him and he loves the Lord. And I know that hope is never lost. So how it really shaped me is I
mm,
just want people to be treated the way that I wanted to be treated. I grew up poor at some aspects of my life. I was even homeless at one point in downtown Conroe for a little over a year. And I'll tell you, the love and
wow.
kindness of strangers is what really put me where I'm at now. It wasn't really the people that I knew very well. It was the people I met on the streets, the police officers that actually cared, the judges that actually cared in my life, and I really just want to create that
Wow.
community. I want to be able to, when I walk into someone's home and I see someone that's like really upset, like, man, my plumbing keeps going out. I want them to be able to trust me and knowing that I'm here to make sure that your stuff gets fixed because as a homeowner, I understand how hard things are and how expensive things are. I've been on the streets before. I've been in broken down homes before. And I just want people to be able to get their dream home, to get where they need to be and to be able to survive without having to worry about the ugliness of the world when really there's so much beauty. So I just want to bring Jesus to people and treat them with love and respect like I
Mm.
really needed when I was younger.
Well, you're definitely doing that. And then at such an early age, and I really appreciate you being vulnerable there and sharing
Yeah.
that and opening up because I know our listeners and viewers, we all face these different trials and tribulations and struggles through our life, but it doesn't have to be where we end up. You've used it as leverage and as a tool and to reflect on, and it's who you become in that journey. And you're using that to become the businesswoman and the leader that you are today by giving back and helping those through that journey as well, because we're best equipped to help the people we once were. And I
Absolutely.
see you doing that and I see you living that out. And I love that because, authentically, and I've told you this before we started recording the podcast, is I don't normally just invite just anybody to come on the
Mhm.
podcast and be a guest. It has to really be somebody that's, I call it the pain cave, that have really experienced struggles, trials and tribulations and adversity. And you've done all these things at such a young age. And you are now helping others, equipping, building that bridge for other people, whether that's customers, your family. You're embodying that. You'd said your mom has been sober because you started and you're being a role model. And I know I got to meet your young son, Kason, right?
Mhm.
He's showing up to the events and plugging himself in and asking questions. So you are leading by example and you're an inspiration to me, Nicole.
Oh,
That's
thank you, Sean.
in short 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm grateful for you. Rolling into construction, it's obviously a male dominated
Mhm.
space from my experience and what you hear about construction. What challenges have you faced stepping into leadership in that field? And how have you held your ground with confidence leading through that?
Ooh, I have come across a lot. I've even had issues with a couple of subcontractors when I first started, like trying to really introduce myself, trying to find like really great, reputable people. And it's weird because I guess because I'm super nice that they think that I don't have a spine. And I don't mean that silly, but you have to be very straightforward and be like, look, you can't, this has to be done this way. So to go from like very kind-hearted to like very stern, I have to remind myself that, you know, that it's okay for me to put my foot down. So I've had a lot of back and forth, with different companies really trying to like get out there and be like, look, like I'm not here to play games. I may be nice and sweet, but I'm here to help people. And this is a serious matter. We need trustworthy people. And through that experience, I was actually able to find amazing subcontractors that were just phenomenal. And honestly, when it came to holding my ground, my husband was my backbone. My husband, Justin, I mean, I wouldn't have got this far this fast if it wasn't for him, because he's really pushed me every point of the way. Like, hey, you've got this. Like, I know you do. And having a partner that just loves me has been amazing. So now it's getting to the point where I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need him. I want him, which is so great because now I have my sense of individuality with my business. So I'm super excited about that. But
Yeah.
he's really been my strong suit during all of the growth.
I love that you bring that up with spouse, because it's not often talked about on the podcast and in leadership and in even business ownership, because it is very challenging. It's not for the faint of heart. The statistics don't lie. It's very tough in business and entrepreneur, especially in a male dominated space. And the fact that you just shared that with having a supporting spouse, I think is one of the top 3 key components to winning in entrepreneurship
Absolutely.
for the long run.
Mhm.
And to dive even deeper on that, for me, in my own experience and being in business over a decade now, is if it wasn't for my wife as well, like Justin is to you, then man, I don't think I am. I know, actually, I don't think I know I'm not in where I am today, especially with the support, the love, the grace, and the compassion. Has it always been rainbows and sunshines? Absolutely not. But here's the
Right.
thing, and you know this, Nicole, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So how you lead in business, or vice versa, how you lead in your personal life is going to transition in over to business. So why
Absolutely.
not run those congruent in alignment? And that's what I'm a big believer in our creator working through us and being a child of God is align this with your life,
Mhm.
business and personal. It doesn't have to be separate. Like if you design the life that you want to live without sacrificing health, relationships, and spirituality, you can run all these congruent. And that's what I'm hearing you say with having the support with Justin. That's awesome.
Absolutely. 100%. I think it's important for people to understand that you don't have to do it alone. And some people don't have spouses. There's always that person, whether even your children. My children have been so supportive, and I am super grateful for
Yeah.
my whole family. I mean, really, my immediate, my babies, my husband. I mean, they've just been there like, Mom, you got this. Like, this is great. This is a great idea. So just having that heart of it was just really awesome for me. So I'm very blessed to have what I have.
And they're blessed to have you, Nicole, in their life, leading by example and being that role model, because it's caught, not taught.
Mhm.
And that's what you're doing in your life.
Thank you.
And when I met you at the networking event about a couple months ago, I was shocked. I had walked in, there was probably 15 or 20 other emerging leaders and business owners in this event. And immediately you came up to me and you had this 4'9", maybe 5 foot, blonde hair, young boy right next to you. And he was just sitting there, super poised, super humble. And normally I'm the one asking the questions, but he immediately said, well, what do you do? What do you do? And looked at me, put his hands like a professional would in
Yeah.
front of him, going, okay, spotlight's on you, brother. I'm like, whoa. So the reason I bring that up, I love that you brought him. I don't know the why behind that, but I'm curious for our listeners and audience as well, because, a lot of times we think as entrepreneurs and business owners, it's like, okay, my kids are over here, they're over here doing their thing. But how old is Kason?
He's 14.
14. So you plugged him into that networking event, and what he's going to learn and take away from that, just in that, one time. I'm curious on your thoughts behind that and the why behind wanting to plug your son into that environment.
Absolutely. So, I really think it's very important for people to understand that every child is different. I have other children, my girls, they thrive in school. They're really great. My youngest is super academically smart. My middle child, Piper, she's got like an athletic sport to her. My son, on the other hand, he was very modest, for lack of better words, and didn't really thrive in the school district. In fact, he was bullied very bad because he was very kind. So we ended up pulling him out, and I was very concerned about his level of self-confidence had really depleted. And my son's a very goofy, very nice and kind-hearted person. And to see him struggling so hard was very difficult for me. So I pulled him out and I was like, you know what? I think it's so important if I'm pulling him that not only do we go over academics, but we go over how to live life in general. So I was like, why not him come to work with me? Eventually, if he wants to take over the company, he can. Like, praise God that we'd be able to do that. And what better way to learn what he wants to be than to really get into it? So I started bringing him, and Sean, I'll tell you, this past year, my son has flourished. He has turned into something
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm just in awe of. I really am. He's like a sponge, and he's so kind and honest and loving and is so quick to help people. And then now he's eager to learn. He's not in a environment where he feels threatened or scared or uncomfortable. He's
Yes.
like, man, these people are awesome. And like now he wants to be a plumber, and now he wants to know about other people. Like he's flourished. But that's really what made me want to bring him in, is I wanted him to have social interaction and be able to expand his mind and not be withheld to just textbooks at home. I wanted to make sure that pulling him out of school was the positive thing to do.
What would you, and I love that, and I agree with that, and I feel like I would have the same mindset. We don't have kids, but I feel like I would be very passionate behind that and what you just shared. But for like a lot of our emerging leaders and business owners, they have kids.
Mhm.
What would be that one tip or advice that if they're experiencing the same thing, whether that's bulliness or they're, maybe they've got, they're not doing so well in school. And obviously that was a big decision for you to do that.
Yeah.
Is there any tips or advice that you would give those parents or leaders that are going through the same thing that you guys went through?
Absolutely. If you have the means to pull your kid out and homeschool them, do it 100%. My girls don't want to be homeschooled. They really flourish and thrive in the school district. But my son didn't. And I am so blessed to be able to be in a position to pull him out. And really, I was a little nervous about bringing him on certain jobs because I didn't want people to feel some type of way about a child being there. But then I thought, well, what better way to be family oriented with my family? So really just setting up an environment to where he can learn, not only by listening and talking to people, but he also helps us build porches and put in flooring and does demolition. So he's doing physical exercises. He's doing geometry by measuring. And then when I'm going down the road and I have to text or email somebody, he's usually the one that's doing it for me. So he's highly dyslexic. And by doing this, it was able to bump up his spelling, get him to understand vocabulary better. And he's really it's done great for him. So I plugged him in and I was like, look, we're going to run a business together. But that's my little sidekick, man. He's awesome.
And he's only 14 and he's learning all these skill sets and experiences and actually rolling up his sleeves and getting the front row seat to really lead in a business, build a business and do the work, whether he decides to do it or not. Man, the skill sets, he'll be able to apply that, communicating to customers, learning the ins and outs of discipline and accountability and showing up and asking good questions. I mean, that's going to apply in the future for him. And it's just so beautiful. I wish that we saw more of that. So that's very cool that you guys are doing that, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
So with that being said, your wife and your mom, we've talked a lot about business. You're obviously driven. You're in alignment. How do you navigate being present at home while still running your business that demands so much of your time, energy, and effort?
Family first, always. Plug them in with you with your business, make your business family oriented. But Sean, my family comes first. I make sure, and I have very strict rules. Like, I spent years working on weekends, working late nights, with sales, with, waitressing. And I just was never happy. So I put strict boundaries down. I don't work on weekends unless I absolutely have to, or if there's a person that really needs me to finish a job on that day, and that's perfectly fine. But I set those boundaries to make sure that I have time for my kids, because like I said, me growing up the way that I did, I want my kids to have better, and it's been more beneficial that way. So I have to put family first, business comes after, and then really we do everything as a team. I love spending time with them. I love being with them, and I love being with my husband. So we do a lot of things together. We work together. We do our businesses together. We play together, and we're a team. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I love that. And when I'm hearing you say, a lot of viewers, audience, and listeners, they struggle with those non-negotiables. And I did, in my entrepreneur journey as well. And I agree with you. You have to establish those non-negotiables and those boundaries.
Absolutely.
I'm curious with you, how do you communicate those boundaries or those non-negotiables to everybody that's trying to pull Nicole West's, time, your customers, your strategic partners, your your contractors? How do you do that? How do you set those non-negotiables? And what do you do? Do you communicate it to them? Do you let them know in advance? Here's my standards. What do you do?
So honestly, I really haven't even had to do that. I just don't give them the option. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it's like, hey, these are the days that I'm available. If there's a job that needs to be done, Sunday is not an option. I have church on Sundays. Wednesday night's not an option. I'm a youth leader over at my church. I got to be there. So I just don't even put it down. If it's, there has been on rare occasions where I've had to go over to a customer's house on a Saturday. Saturdays are fine. We'll do it all together. But as long as it's not every Saturday and it's not interfering with my family time or time with the Lord, then I'm okay with that. So really, by setting your boundaries, you just don't give them the option. Like, hey, these are the days, pick one, whichever works best for you, and we can get it rolling.
I love that. And I agree with you. In your personality, you come across as that as well. So people are not, they're not going to try to take advantage of you, or they're not going to try to take your time because you don't allow it, is what I'm hearing you say. For some of our listeners, that don't have that strong personality, or they don't have, that skill set to where they are setting the standards and communicating that, and because that's what you're essentially doing. You're letting them know, I can do it this day, but I can't do it this day. You're communicating them up front. Have you, in my experience, what I have found that if you lack that, then start there. Then communicate like what what I heard you say, and it sounds like you've already naturally done it, is you've communicated, these are my non-negotiables. These, maybe you haven't said it like that, but you were upfront with them. Like, I can do it this day, but I can't do it this day because, and here's why. I'm hearing you say, here's why, because church or family, church, God, that is all first. And when you tell people that and communicate that to them, then they need to respect that. And if they don't respect it, then they're not aligned with your values and your beliefs. And unfortunately, you're going to have to distance yourself from them. Absolutely.
I mean, you're definitely right. So I have a strong personality, but I also don't like to disappoint people either. So I don't like to go, well, I get really like, I'm so sorry. So instead, I'm just like, hey, here's the days that are available. Pick one. And then that's it. So I don't even give those days as an option. Yeah. If they ask for those days, and I'm like, well, unfortunately, this and this. Now, if it's something dire, like, look, my house is flooding, like something crazy is going, mold starting to grow, that's a little different. That's more of an emergency situation. And we're always willing to fluctuate as long as it doesn't interfere with church. We're here, or we'll send somebody else to do it that's available. We will find somebody who is okay with incorporating that into their schedule. But yeah, I really advise people to just very politely just say, hey, here are the days that I'm available. And if they're demanding something different, that's okay. God's going to give you something else if that's what needs to be done.
And that's a skill set, Nicole. What I'm hearing you also say is that you're willing to work with them. You're willing to find a solution, even though it maybe doesn't work, and you're aligned with, okay, here, this day doesn't work, but this day doesn't work. I can plug you in. I can get another resource and see. And to me, you're showing vulnerability. You're trying to help them versus, no, I can't do it this day.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from a lot of emerging leaders and business owners is they think they have to do a hard stop. Nope, can't do it. Well, let's align together and share what day works better for you. Let's get aligned with and on the same page. And then also here's the why behind. So you can, if we're going to work together moving forward as customers, I do it with my customers, my family, my community, everybody. Right. And so if I don't design the life that I want to live, then I'm on somebody else's design is the way I look at it. And that's what I'm hearing you kind of view it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take us to a moment where you doubted yourself or faced major resistance in business. And how did you overcome it? We've talked a lot about boundaries, non-negotiables in different areas of life, but I want to do you have a moment where you doubted yourself in business or faced that major resistance?
Yeah. When I first started my business was the biggest time that I ever doubted myself. I made a lot of money at my old company that I was working for. I was working in sales. I was helping truck drivers get their papers done, make sure that they're all legal. But I hated it. I hated sitting at home all the time. I hated not being personal, being on the phone constantly, being very monotonous, the same thing over and over again. And so when I initially talked to my husband about this idea, and he was like, yes, this is great, let's brainstorm. The process of quitting my job the stress level was ridiculous. I had anxiety. I was having trouble sleeping. And from that point, I just had to give it to God. I mean, the first 2 or 3 nights was the worst for me because I was like, what did I just do? Like I had income and it was coming, like everything's fine. And I just like was like, okay, I quit. I mean, of course I gave him a 2 week notice,
Yep.
but to really
Yeah.
just omit that was, oh my God, it was horrific. But my family, my kids, my husband, they were just like, hey, you're going to be so much happier. Like you're already less stressed. Like this is going to be great.
Yeah.
So really overcoming
Wow.
it, I look to the Lord and I look to my family, and that's really what got me through it. And I'm just so thankful for where I'm at today because the doubt was really strong.
Yeah, man. I know I resonate with what you're saying, and it's almost like reflecting back in those
Mhm.
moments. You're like, no, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in this moment. All this doubt and thoughts and negativity and the enemy. It's the devil. It's the enemy coming
Mhm.
in.
Absolutely.
But it's the flip side of that. It's God's rejection is God's protection. And so what happened there has been the catalyst and the catapult to where you are today. Isn't that
Yes,
incredible?
absolutely. 100%.
And I see that. And now you're equipping people because we're best equipped to help the people we once were. And you're that shining light. You're embodying that. And I feel like you're just getting warmed up. There's so much untapped potential in there. And of course, it's in all of us. It's that
Mhm.
us striving to become that 10.0 version, which is God, our creator. And knowing that is such a good feeling because we know there's so much more potential within us. At least that's the way I look
Oh,
at it. Do you have
100%.
similar thoughts? Yeah.
100%. We all have room to grow, and I am so excited about it.
I love that too. Now, I think this is perfectly aligned with what we just talked about, the belief or principle. Do you have a belief? Because I'm big on
Mhm.
beliefs. And, a lot of people say, well, I need to see it, Nicole, before I believe it, right? I need to see my creator. I need to see God. I need to see the experience before I believe it. But I'm a big believer in I'll believe it and
Mhm.
then I'll see it. So what's one belief or principle that's helped you stay positive in showing up the way you do through the highs and lows of life and what we've talked about?
I believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, and through his death and resurrection, I am made new, and I have an everlasting life through him, that through him I can find repentance and change against my ways and be who he wants me to
Mm,
be. Oh my gosh, Sean, I love that question. When I
yeah.
was in the deepest, darkest pits, when I didn't believe in anything, that's all I had left. I was at my ends meet. I was incarcerated. I was really struggling with like, what do I do now? Like, all I know how to do is do drugs, what's going to happen. And there was just this moment of, I went to church one day when I was incarcerated. I met this woman. She just beamed with this joy and this positivity. And I was like, I want what you have. And she looked at me and she
Mm,
just says, you already have the love of the Lord all over you. You just don't know it yet. And that was the day that I decided to give my life to the Lord. And really, everything around
mm,
us is seeing. I mean, everyone's like, oh, I got to see it to believe it. We have breath
yep.
in our
Yep.
lungs. We are alive.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't believe that somebody great and powerful created everything around us? I mean, because the whole world is a masterpiece. Each person is
Exactly.
intricately
Yep.
made. It would be insane to not trust that the Lord made this. I mean, genuinely. So God's first, and that's how I stay strong throughout this whole time is because of my Lord. And I'm super grateful for all he's pulled me through and pulled me out of and put me where I'm at right now.
There's not one person listening to this or watching this on YouTube that cannot be inspired right now, Nicole West.
It's God.
You
God.
have been yeah, the Holy Spirit at work, but you, man, everything that you are sharing and communicating with, it's very inspirational. And I've actually got chills. I can feel it we're in frequency right now. And my heart is singing, and I know our listeners, I know it's landing with them. And if it's not, then, make sure you're surrounding yourself with people like Nicole West, because
Oh,
golly, holy smokes, that is the type of person that you want to run with and surround yourself with and be empowered by and uplifted. And you have done that today.
thank you.
As we wrap things up, we believe at Level Up and Live, surrounding yourself with the right people is the key to getting to where you want to go, quicker, faster in the area of life that you want to do. Obviously, accelerate your growth from my experience. How has community, mentorship, or networking helped you elevate in business and in life?
Oh my gosh, it's helped tremendously. So I just became a member of the Front Porch Crew and the networking team. Whoop whoop. So excited. I've never been in a networking group before. And actually I was very leery about getting involved in one because I heard, traumatic stories.
Yeah.
There is something about the net that is absolutely amazing. JoJo is amazing. She got me involved into it. So did Cassie Taylor. And I'll tell you what, I have met such amazing people, including yourself. And I'm so thankful for that. And then being able to be in a situation where I can meet people that are honest, that I can use as subcontractors, was just 100% exactly what I needed. I needed that kind of community because these people are trusted. They have to go through an interview process. They have to make sure that their character and their integrity are in place. And I'll tell you what, being able to just call up the net and say, hey, do we have, a flooring guy that we really trust, and me be able to conversate with that person, go, hey, this is really somebody I want on my team, is really awesome. And that's how me and you met. And I've learned so much, through the people that speak there, that are willing to share their knowledge to help each other grow. 10 out of 10 recommend networking, and always talking to your customers too. That fellowship and that talking with your customers and learning what really helps them become happy. It's huge. So the community I've found through the net and just through working and being honest and loving towards my customers, it's been such a blessing. I'm so thankful.
I love that. And there's so much conviction in that. And then because a lot of times, a lot of our emerging leaders and business owners, from my experience, we isolate ourselves, before you plug yourself into a community like that. Before when I founded Level Up and Live Mastermind Group 3 years ago, that was me. I was in isolation. I was trying to do everything on my own. And I didn't have the Lord in my life. I didn't have the Creator. And it was just pride and ego in the driver's seat. And I've already shared this story, but man, that leads to misery, burnout, overwhelm, frustration, because we know we can't do it alone. We need a community and we need that higher power. So I couldn't agree with you more. And for our listeners and audience, man, if you're not in the community, if you haven't plugged yourself in, definitely reach out, and we'll share the whys, the stories, the experiences behind that. They definitely overpower the doing business alone, because success doesn't have to be alone.
No.
You can go fast alone, but you can go further together, right?
You got to remember, Jesus didn't walk alone either. He had disciples. He had fellowship. He had a community. It takes a village to raise a child. Like, I'm not the only person that my children need. They need experience and then having community with others. So find your team, find your people. And I know that it's uncomfortable sometimes to step into a position where you feel that people are quote unquote better than you, but they're not. They're just a little further in that growth in that aspect. Put yourself around those people that are just a little further in their growth, and you'll grow too. You can't keep staying in that comfort zone or you'll never grow. I mean, it's like putting a plant in a pot. You're like, okay, well, I'm scared to move it because it might not grow in the next one, but really they need more space. So get out there, put yourself out there, even when you're nervous. Just trust that the Lord's got it.
Love that. Brilliant advice. And I couldn't agree with you more. And unfortunately, I think we all have to go through that pain cave before we decide to make that decision and going, yeah, you know what? I'll listen. And that's what I have found. And I'm sure from your experience as well, you have probably seen that, because it's very hard unless you're casing at 14 years of age going, having a mom going, hey, you're coming to this networking event, it is scary to be able to do that and get out of your comfort zone, but it's not if, but when. And the beautiful thing about it is communities like this, I don't think they're going anywhere. And we're always arms are wide open, because you can listen to this. It's June of 2025, and 6 months from now, you're listening to this and you may be going through a different season of life, right,
Absolutely.
Nicole? Just like we all do. Awesome. Final question before we wrap things up. What legacy are you hoping to leave through Brightside Construction and through your example as a woman, a mom, and a business leader in what you're doing and designing the life you want to live?
The legacy I want to leave is that no matter what position of life that you're in, whether you're a business owner or a laborer or just somebody who's pushing pen on a paper, you can always glorify God and give love to others. I just want people to say, hey, that business was loving. These people really helped me. And now I'm inspired to help the next person. That's what I want to leave.
I love that. And you're embodying that as well. And I think we've shared early in the episode, anybody listening to this would agree. And I've just met you a couple of times now and building a relationship. I'm like, this is a woman that's already doing that. So, now it's just tweaking and continuing to live aligned with your values and beliefs. And Nicole West, thank you for showing up with so much heart and authenticity today. Your story is proof that leading well isn't just about building something big. It's about becoming someone solid like yourself. And if you're listening to this and you're ready to live with purpose, lead with clarity and surround yourself with people who get it. Don't wait. Plug yourself in. This is your invitation to level up and live your best life. Nicole, thanks again for being here. Before we conclude, I want to make sure that our community helps you and supports you. How can we do that for you today, for you opening up and pouring into our audience and listeners today?
Absolutely. Yes. So I have a Facebook page, Brightside Construction LLC. Please like it and tell everybody about my company so I can help not only the other contractors around, but really help you as well. And I hope you have a great day.
Let's go. Well, thanks again, Nicole, for being on the show today. We'll have that link in the show notes for everybody for easy access to go and support. Go support Nicole West. She's somebody you want to follow, somebody you want to lean in on and learn from, and reach out. We're here to help wherever we can and lead, be that servant leader. So thanks again. Have a fantastic day and level up and live your best life. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks. Have a great day.